That's now Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News, BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, it is good to see you. Trump has clearly changed his worldview over the weekend. How would you characterize it? Backing down, strategic pause, pivot? What's happening?
Well, he wants to stop the madness. Donald Trump knows this is no good for anybody, and he will. He's going to make a deal with Walz. I don't know what the deal will be. But the most important part of this for NewsNation viewers isn't about the individual politicians. It's about the misreporting of this story in the totality. There are two different stories here. The first story is the violence against the two people who are dead. There should be an FBI task force in Minneapolis right now, right this moment. I don't know if there is one because Kash Patel has not held a press conference. Where is the FBI director? Where? You can't have Homeland Security investigate Homeland Security. You can't. Why do we have the FBI? You have so many potential crimes in the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. The only bureau who could do it would be the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Where are they?
Super frustrating. Thanks for joining me, John Soto. This is SotoCast. Yeah, Bill is pointing out a couple of really good points in this segment. Where the hell the FBI are, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. It just goes to show you that there are plenty of people that can be very good at commentating, that can be good at talking, maybe. But when it comes to the doing, that's why you kind of need somebody that's been involved in the agency prior. And I understand people's hang-ups on that you don't want somebody that's a product of the system and this and that. However, if you don't know how the system works, everything just grinds to a halt. If you don't know how to put together a watch, you may be a brilliant anything, engineer, whatever. The watch won't work if you're trying to put it back together. So Kash comes into play. He has all these fancy ideas, stuff like that. I don't know if he wasn't just... This is the way it should have gone down. It should have been, if you believed that Kash was going to be put in this scenario, you should have sat down. He should have been embedded with agents, retired former agents that just fed to him on an IV drip. This is how this animal works day in and day out. He probably didn't even know, like, how does somebody call out sick in the agency? How does payroll work? How many vacation days do they get? What's their retirement like? You coming in completely green to a massive agency is retarded. It's not going to work. Things are not going to get done. You can have all the bluster and you can be as smart as you want. But if you take a master chess player and tell him to solve a Rubik's Cube, it's a different freaking animal. It's not the same thing. You know, it's apples and oranges, like literally. Like he was a prosecutor, he was a lawyer. That's all great. This is the FBI. This is, you know, one of the largest agencies and most powerful agencies in the world. And you could say maybe you know about the history, maybe you know about this and that. When it comes to the day-to-day, they drop you in there and they say, run this show. It's going to take you probably 2 years. Probably 2 years before you get enough of a foothold where you can, if you're going in green, if it's somebody that came up through the ranks and maybe you can trust, that's a totally different story. But going in green, you're going to be grinding gears for a long time before you get any traction.
Where is Kash Patel? All right? You can debate videotape all day long. You can say whatever you want to say. But there has to be an overriding authority in this state. And there isn't. Did you see, Leland, and because you've been studying it like I have, one Minneapolis police officer protecting ICE against the demonstrators? Did you see one?
No, but that's not the FBI's job to investigate them.
The answer is no. The answer is no. You didn't see one because there wasn't one there. And this is a public safety issue with dead people. No local or state cops. None. By order of the governor and the mayor.
Great point. And I know other people have been saying it, but it needs to be restated over and over and over again. You have these massive protests taking place in your city. You have people that are, you know, committing crimes, vandalizing vehicles, obstructing. And you got no local PD there. I mean, it shows that it's a manufactured crisis, right? I mean, that's very apparent. It's very apparent to anybody that watches and does any bit of reflection and if you want to call it research or whatever. I just watch a whole bunch of stuff all day long. That's all I do. But that's the crux of the argument, is that they're getting exactly what they wanted. They're getting the deaths. They wanted the deaths. Come on, we all know this. They were salivating over this to happen. I mean, nobody had to die. They probably would have been okay with maybe a shooting here or this and that, and but they got a couple of deaths under their wing. That's exactly what they wanted. If they didn't want it, they would have had local law enforcement there assisting and saying, listen, we don't agree with what these guys are doing, but they have the legal right to do it. The same way that they would do it with protesters. The same way that law enforcement go to anti-law enforcement protests to protect the protesters. I mean, think about that. We've all seen it countless times. Law enforcement goes to anti-law enforcement protests to protect the protesters. Why do they do that? Not because they agree with what they're saying, but because they have the right to do it. ICE has the right to enforce federal law. The locals should have been tasked with allowing them to do that. You can protest, but they have the right to enforce federal law. And that's what needed to be done. And it wasn't done intentionally so that they can have a body count. So that they can have people that were hurt. So that they can have people getting beaten or whatever. That was the purpose. The purpose was allow these protesters and allow these protesters that apparently are being funded by foreign agents, which is another thing that's freaking crazy. If the FBI is not investigating and like how is that not being just like squashed out? But whatever. Allow these protesters to get involved and just to create this massive amount of chaos in your city. It's something that you wanted to happen. Manufactured crisis.
That is insane.
Now, that may be insane, Bill, but you want Kash Patel to investigate the governor because he didn't order the police to protect ICE?
You bet I do.
That's the solution?
You bet.
Okay.
I'm not protecting ICE. If the FBI comes in and finds that the agents, the federal agents, one ICE, one Border Patrol, all right, were derelict in their duties or used malice, I want those people indicted. Clear?
100%. 100%. There's nobody on either side that's saying anything different. They're giving their opinions as to what they think. But if they come in and they tell me that, hey, listen, the officer that shot Petty, whatever his name is, he did not perceive a threat and he shot indiscriminately. I say, okay, it is what it is. He shot without seeing a threat, so you're gonna have to prosecute him at that point. It was, there may be some wiggle room in that prosecution because there's obviously a lot of stuff going on in that scenario. But if that's what they decided, that's what they decided. When it comes to the good case, if they, I and the good case is a lot more cut and dry in my opinion. It's you don't have to, if you have a 2-ton vehicle pointed in your direction, you don't have to know it's going to hit you in order to take deadly physical force action. You just have to know it's pointing in your direction. You're telling it to stop and it's not stopping, it's going forward. So it's a little bit easier, a little bit more cut and dry. And that one, in my view, that one is actually more tragic because honestly, I don't think she was trying to hit him. I think she was trying to flee, but she just made a really bad decision, and that's just what happens. It's super unfortunate. But yeah.
Are we clear? But on the same token, you have got 2 elected officials that could be charged with rebellion and insurrection under the U.S. Code 2383.
Guys, if you're still here, please hit the subscribe button. That's all I'm asking. Just subscribe. A little click, subscribe. It's totally free. Thank you.
This is a rebellion. That is why the people are dead. Nobody brings a gun, a loaded gun. Nobody, CNN, to a confrontation with federal agents who are under siege.
Now, I could just disagree with Bill a little bit. Some people bring a loaded gun everywhere, like this guy. But I'm not going to get into a confrontation with law enforcement, right? And if I were to whatever situation I'm in, I'm going to say, hey, whether it's a car stop or whatever it is, I'll show them my ID and everything like that. I'm a licensed carrier, and I'll tell them where it is, wherever it is. I'm not going to tell you where it is, because I'm not going to tell you where it is. But I'll tell them where the firearm is. That is every single encounter I have with law enforcement. And if I think things are going to go poorly, I just don't get into that situation. I don't bring myself to get into that situation. Because I'm older, because I have experience, and it's not something that you want to do, because you're not going to win. Even when you win, you don't win, because, I mean, let's say Pettit actually wins and gets a payout. All right, the family gets a few $1 million. He's still dead. He didn't win, so it's not worth it.
No one does that. That man did. Because, in my opinion, he was so crazed by the situation, so agitated, as I am right now, that he had lost all judgment. Now, listen to me. The authorities, governor, mayor, feds, have to control that. The controlling bureau is the FBI, not Homeland Security. They're doing what they're ordered to do. Find and detain people who should not be here. Okay.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below.
Yeah, Bill went on a pretty good rant there. He went on a roll for about 20 minutes. But overall, pretty clear message, pretty concise. If the cops did anything negligent, let the investigation play out. If they're wrong, they're wrong. If it meets the level of prosecution, you prosecute them. If they violated department guidelines, they could be fired. Fire them. I don't think anyone has an issue with that. The issue that we're taking is that scenario was brought about by the leadership in those areas, in the state and the city, because there was no one there to stop, to quell, however else you want to describe it. You are having essentially violent protests, riots, mini riots, whatever the hell you want to call them, in your areas. And local law enforcement is nowhere to be seen. I cannot even imagine that. I'm from New York City. Even if you have a guy with one sign out there's probably a cop, right around there saying, just keep an eye on that guy, make sure everything's okay. And you're talking about a city of 8 million. I get it. A lot of these jurisdictions, they don't have a lot of manpower, but the manpower in relation to the population, I'd be interested to find out. It's actually something that I'll look up now. But this was absolutely brought about by the locals not getting involved, and that has to come from the top. That has to come from the leadership in those cities and state. But ultimately, the FBI is not looking good right now. Don't know what Cash is doing. Like I said, it's hard because he was just plopped into there. He was just thrown in. He doesn't know. He's a lawyer, coming from law school, coming from prosecuting, and he worked in the administration, this and that. How much physical time did he have with the FBI? I don't know. But it's that is a tough animal to wrap your head around if you're going in green. So they got to do a much better job at the money flow, prosecutions, getting a handle on the stuff. And I don't know if it can happen with him. I don't think it can happen with him. He's just under too much scrutiny. He needed a running start, and he didn't get it. He started from zero. So that's my opinion. Like I said, I kind of like them a little bit, but in this role, it's just not. It's not working. It's not working. Thank you so much for following me, guys. 6283 Talks on the X. If you want to follow me on the X, formerly Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends. See if they like it. Comment down below. We get into some pretty big arguments down there. I kind of like it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you a lot, and see you on the next video, guys. Take care.